Now you're not just making yourself more effective for the business, you're making your A players more effective, and you're creating opportunities for advancement. You work hard in your business. What has your business done for you lately? Hi, I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling, the business psychologist, the author of The 4-Week Vacation and the How to Hire the Best series, as well as the founder of Tap the Potential, where we coach entrepreneurs like you to design sustainably profitable businesses that give you more time for what matters most and more money in your bank account than ever. We believe work supports life, not the other way around. Weekly on the Profit by Design podcast, our team brings you tips, tools, and strategies to support you in making intentionally profitable and sustainable decisions to live the lifestyle you desire. We're busy. I'm overwhelmed. My team is overwhelmed. We have more work than we can handle. And I know we need to hire, but I'm scared to hire. How do I even know if I can afford it? I don't want to go through all the hassle of hiring. It takes so long, and I don't know if I'm going to get somebody who's qualified anyway. If that's you, if that's your experience, then today's episode is for you. This is such a common problem that I hear from business owners, and I really want to dive into it today. And we're going to address the fears around hiring PTSD. But the big question around hiring is, can I even afford it? What do I do when my team and I'm busy, we're overwhelmed, but cash flow is tight and I don't think I can afford to add someone to our payroll? What do I do in that situation? We're diving into all of that today. I'm Dr. Sabrina Starling. I'm the business psychologist, the author of the international best-selling How to Hire the Best series, and I'm your host today on the Profit by Design podcast. So let's dive in, and I'm going to just start right off the bat with I'm scared to hire because I have hiring PTSD. That feeling of I've had all these bad experiences, these bad hires, and I don't want to go through this again. And I've actually talked to a lot of business owners who've told me they are intentionally keeping the business small and passing on growth opportunities because you don't want more added to your shoulders, more responsibility. And so if you're cringing at the thought of hiring, I just want to share with you that you're not alone. This is a common experience and it's very unfortunate. And there's several reasons why it happens. But first, I want you to understand that hiring A players is a skill set. And it's a skill set that you can acquire just like any other skill set in your business. And I know that might sound unbelievable to you just based on your past experiences, but believe me, I have been talking with business owners about hiring for over 18 years. And the latest edition of the How to Hire the Best book contains everything that I have learned over 18 years about what you need to know as a small business owner to attract and retain A players on your team. So this is a great resource for you. And when I talk about hiring being a skill set, I hope that kind of starts to lower your anxiety. Like, oh, maybe it's a skill set that I just haven't learned yet. And chances are you have some parts of the way that you hire that are effective. But if you're like the majority of small business owners, you don't have a full system for hiring. And in fact, my research with over 225 entrepreneurs using our Better Business, Better Life assessment at Tap the Potential, we found that 9 out of 10 business owners don't have a system for attracting A players to the team. And this is a critical system to have in your business. And here's why. If you don't know how to attract A players to your team, you're going to feel like all the responsibilities on your shoulders all the time. You can never fully unplug from the business and you're going to burn out. And that's what our data shows, that 9 out of 10 business owners have no system for hiring A players. 9 out of 10 feel like the business is overly dependent on them, and 9 out of 10 are burning out. So hiring is a skill set. And when you know how to do this and you have a system in place, you have a much better chance of hiring right. So the traditional hiring practices that most small business owners follow actually sets you up to mishire 75% of the time. And when you understand that, hopefully it takes some of that internal pressure off of yourself. Like you just keep screwing this up. It must be you somehow. It's not just you. And there is hope for you. You actually can get A players on your team. And when they come on your team, the first A player that you hire, you're going to be blown away because you're so used to dealing with problematic employees, disengaged employees, warm bodies. And then you bring that A player on and it's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And we see this in our clients' businesses at Tap the Potential in our Better Business, Better Life program all the time. Suddenly you have this A player and they are asking you what else can they do to help you because they're flying through what you've delegated to them. That's the best feeling. So I want you to just have hope. That's what's on the other side. And let's talk about the other piece of the fear though, and that is the overwhelm with the hiring process. Because if you're busy and you're already overwhelmed, your team's already overwhelmed, and then you think, okay, now I have to go through this whole hiring process. I have to write a job ad. I have to sort through all these applications, and then we have to do these interviews, and then we have to train them. I mean, it just feels like it piles on and on and on, right? Well, in the How to Hire the Best course at Tap the Potential, we have specifically designed the course so that you can go through it in about 5-6 weeks time. And you can take move forward action steps each week that help you to put your How to Hire the Best system in place in your business. But the beauty of what we teach you in the course is that we help you screen applicants from the get-go, even with your job ad. So spoiler alert, those of you who go through the How to Hire the Best course, you will get fewer applicants. And that's okay. They're going to be a higher quality applicant. They're going to fit your ideal client avatar of what you're looking for. So we teach you in the How to Hire the Best course, how to write a job ad that speaks to that kind of person, right? That attracts them. So for me, a highly desirable quality in a team member is someone who is very caring about our clients and our community and who pays a lot of attention to the details that matter, not all the details that matter, and is accountable for results. Those are qualities that are critical on our team. And so when I write a job ad, I am going to speak to that person. In doing that, I eliminate all the people who aren't like that because someone's going to read that. I also show you how to put things in your job ad to screen out people who don't pay attention to detail or don't follow instructions because you don't want them on your team. So why do you want applications from them? Just screen them out with the job ad so you don't even have to sort through the applications. But then we teach you how to use each step of the application process as a filter and to reduce the amount of time that you're spending in each step of the process. So I show you a handy way to screen applications and to get when you're picking who you're going to interview, how you make those choices. And once you go through the interview, we teach you a very simple system to follow to do the interview process and what to listen for so you can screen people out so that you're much more likely to have a hiring success when they come on your team. But it doesn't stop there. What we're teaching you to use in your recruitment process is a tool that increases the likelihood that A players will want to be on your team. But it's also a tool that you can use once they're with you to speed them through the training process. So all of this streamlines everything. When you feel overwhelmed thinking about hiring, I really encourage you. We have a very streamlined process to help you. Hiring does not have to be overwhelming. And we've seen so many clients at Tap the Potential go through our How to Hire the Best course and then send their team members through, and their team members start taking on aspects of the hiring and recruiting process, which again takes more and more off of your shoulders as the business owner. So if you're curious about the course and you want to register for it, head on over to tapthepotential.com/course. We'd love to have you in there and support you in your hiring. So talk about the other piece of fear around hiring, and that is I'm scared to hire because I'm not sure we can afford it. Like we're really busy and we know we need somebody. What if cash flow's already tight? What if this makes it worse? And what if we just can't afford this person? And no one wants to bring on a team member and then have to let them go because you can't afford it. Like that's just the worst. So we want to avoid that. And I want to encourage you to think about it from the perspective of, well, what does hiring open up? What possibilities and what opportunities start to arise when you hire an A player on your team. So in my experience, most business owners are spending way too much time doing $10 an hour and $50 an hour tasks in the business. And this stagnates the business growth. So when you hire and train a new team member, really what should be happening is you're freeing up your time to focus on higher value activities, such as business development, higher level sales, innovation around the sweet spot of the business. All of those activities grow the revenue of the business. And that is the point of hiring. So if you can take some of those $10, $50, $100 an hour activities off of your plate and your time gets freed up to function at a higher level in the business, that is a definite consideration just beyond looking at the budget currently and making a decision as to whether you can hire. And this brings me to another critical point that I think most business owners overlook when we start thinking about hiring. We immediately start thinking about who's the next full-time person we have to add to our team. And you don't necessarily need to hire full-time. You may be able to hire someone part-time or an independent contractor. And this allows you to pay less and be able to get some help on the team. But the beauty of hiring at these lower levels of the role chart and hiring part-time or hiring an independent contractor is you create opportunities for advancement. When you bring on a part-time team member, if they hit the results that you've determined that they need to hit, you may be able to add more hours for them and work them up to full-time. But the other way to think about the hiring is it's not just about what you can delegate to a team member. You also want to think about your A players that you currently have on the team and what $10, $50, $100 an hour activities are they doing that could be delegated and that would allow them to do some $1,000 or possibly even some $10,000 an hour work for the business. So it's not just you, it's looking at what else can your team members delegate and creating entry-level roles. And the idea that I always like to think about is you want to bring people in at entry level. You want to move your A players up because they love opportunities for advancement. And every time your team members get busy and overwhelmed, or you get busy or overwhelmed, it's time to do a time audit with that chart of $10,000 an hour activities and really look at what can be swept off your plate, what can be swept off the plates of other A players, and move to an entry-level role that you hire for. Because now you're not just making yourself more effective for the business, you're making your A players more effective, and you're creating opportunities for advancement for those A players, which is highly desirable to A players because they want to work where there's opportunities, real opportunities to grow and to advance and to have more challenge for them. So you've heard me talking about the chart of $10,000 an hour activities. If you want to download it, go to tapthepotential.com/10K. That's tapthepotential.com/10K. This is an incredible tool for you and your team to think about delegation with because it allows you to teach your A players how to start delegating. A lot of times your A players have the same trouble with delegation that you have. You hang on to things way too long. You think it's too complicated to teach someone else to do it. It's just easier and faster if you do it. All those, objections that go through our head when it comes to delegation. But when we start to see that we can create more value for the business by letting go of some of the lower value activities, then it becomes easier to delegate. And the other thing that I've become aware of recently for myself is that I hang on to $1,000 an hour activity because for whatever reason, just because I've been doing it all the time and nobody else on the team knows how to do it and I've never thought to train someone else, I am inadvertently creating a glass ceiling for our team at Tap the Potential. And that's terrible. I don't want to do something like that. And so if you have A players and you're chief A player, if you're holding on to high value activities that could be delegated and you're not allowing other A players on the team to have the opportunity to do those activities, that's a glass ceiling. And it's time, let's bust through that, because I know you listening, you're probably someone who's in helping others grow and loving to see people step into their potential and achieve great things. So why would you hang on to these high value activities and not give others on the team the opportunity to experience those? So now let's talk about the other side of, can I afford to hire? And that is really looking at, what would you be paying the person that you're bringing on? What's a competitive wage or salary? And do you have room in your budget for it? So the first thing to do is use a resource like the Bureau of Labor Statistics website to look at what are the competitive wages and salaries for that particular role in your geographic region. So look up the role that you want to hire for. And then I would recommend, to be competitive, you don't want to be at the 50th percentile. You really want to be around the 60th percentile, at least, to be competitive. Don't feel like you need to be at the 90th percentile or above, because if you hire an A player for the role at the 90th percentile, you don't have much room to grow them. And they don't have many opportunities in the future for increasing their pay. So I always say, be a little bit above the average. So be around the 60th percentile, and then create opportunities for advancement. And those advancement opportunities are based on them delivering real results for you. And you, in the How to Hire the Best course, we teach you how to lay that out for your A players that you're hiring. So you can look up what's a competitive wage or salary to offer for the role, and then consider the role as a fully burdened role. So include payroll taxes and benefits, and then look at what is the monthly impact of that on our payroll when we add that role into the business. And I recommend all of you who are using Profit First, and I hope you are, this is the Profit by Design podcast, making sure that your operating expense budget is close to the target allocation percentage for your real revenue range. And if you're new to Profit First and you don't know how to calculate that, I invite you to just book a call with us at Tap the Potential, and Caitlin Beaver, our success team lead, will walk you through a profit audit of your business, and she'll show you the general range of where your operating expenses should be. And you can use that information to make a decision as to whether or not you can afford to hire. Because if your operating expenses are higher than they should be, then you need to take a step back and not just go higher, because that's going to further your cash flow problems, but it's also going to prevent you from having appropriate owner's pay and profit. And we don't want to do that. And so it's always this fine dance. And we have a lot of business owners. It's not uncommon for most business owners who go through a profit audit to find that your operating expenses are too high. And that's why you can't pay yourself appropriate owner's pay and profit in the business. And the biggest expense in operating expenses typically is payroll. So the first place to look when you need to cut expenses is payroll. But I'm going to step back from that and say there's an easier place to look to cut expenses first. Best place is payroll, because there's chances are your payroll is not efficient. But the easiest place to look first is to look at subscriptions. And if you have subscriptions for platforms that you're not fully utilizing, where you could reduce the monthly cost or even eliminate the monthly cost, that's where you should go first, because that's easy peasy. Payroll is the biggest expense, and it's the best place to look for reducing your operating expense budget, but it's harder. And the reason it's harder is because you might be firing somebody, and that doesn't feel good. I've not run into a business owner yet who gets excited to fire someone. So what I want you to look at when you look at your payroll, if your operating expenses are too high, is to be honest and evaluate your team members and say, how many A players do we have? How many B players? And how many C's and warm bodies do we have? So your A players are highly motivated, intrinsically motivated go-getters. Like, their motivation comes from the inside. They just want to do a good job for the sake of doing a good job. They love to learn. They love to solve challenges. They love to come up with ideas on their own and have your support as they implement them. Those are your A players. Your B players are solid. They're reliable. They're dependable, but they wait for permission, and they're not innovative. They're not coming up with new ideas for the business. They're just solid, steady eddies, and they're wonderful to have on the team. So the people that you want to look at and be real honest with yourself are about those C players and the warm bodies, the ones that kind of drag and they're not excited to be there. It's hard to get them to do new things. They make mistakes. There's rework. Sometimes there's overtime involved because of their mistakes and rework. Maybe you've lost customers because of them. You need to take a hard look at that, because if you say, I can't afford to hire, my operating expenses are already too high, but you are allowing these underperforming team members to stay on your team, you're just saying, I'm allowing my business to flounder, because it's not the path to success to keep these warm bodies on your team. So I would recommend that you look at eliminating them, firing, terminating them, and replacing them with A players. And here's the beauty of doing that. So you let go of one C player before you have an A player on board, right? And you're like, oh my gosh, I see it. Dr. Sabrina said they're costing me too much money. I totally see it. So you let them go. And then your fear is, well, we were already busy and now the rest of the team has to pick up the slack. What you will find is your A players will step up and say, thank you for letting them go, because I was doing extra work to clean up their mistakes. So sometimes it actually makes your A players' lives better when you let these warm bodies go. And it also takes a tremendous emotional and mental burden off of you to let them go, because now all of a sudden, all the mental energy that you've spent trying to figure out, how do I get them to see? How do I get them to do this? How do I get them, right? All of that goes away because you no longer have to get them to do anything. Now you're going to focus on supporting your A players and hiring another A player. And the beautiful thing about A players is when they're in the right role that aligns with their strengths and they have clearly defined results to deliver, they will be 900 to 1200% more productive than those warm bodies on your team. So you could actually let go of 2 or 3 warm bodies, replace them with one A player, get more done on the team, pay your A player competitively, like good wages and salaries, and save on your payroll. This could actually make you more profitable, right? By paying your A player more to attract them and letting go of several warm bodies, you'll see your revenue goes up because there's higher levels of productivity across the business, better sales are happening, and expenses go down because you no longer have those warm bodies who are making all those mistakes. So that is a strong consideration for you. If you say, I can't afford to hire, you really have to do that honest gut evaluation of your team members and say, all right, who are the C players that I'm entertaining here and just handing money to every 2 weeks with a paycheck, and let them go and replace them with A players. Trust me, it's going to be better. And I encourage you, join our course, How to Hire the Best, at tapthepotential.com/course. And let us show you the strategies for hiring A players, because it is not hard to do this. It does not require months and months and months to get to the point where you can hire A players. We've brought people into the How to Hire the Best course, and within 2 months, they have A players on their teams. And they really were thinking, I have no hope for ever being able to hire A players because I've not been successful in the past. It's really about just learning the right skills. Okay, so we have talked about hiring PTSD and how to overcome that. We've talked about dealing with hiring overwhelm and how to deal with that. And my final thought that I want to share around hiring PTSD and hiring, the feeling of being overwhelmed when it comes to hiring, is that when you go through the How to Hire the Best course and we teach you the simple steps that you can take to position yourself as an employer of choice for those A players that you want to attract to the team, every time you hire, you're building your hiring muscle. So when the first time you go through the course, it's like you're building your skeletal system for hiring. You're just getting the basics in place, just what you need to get that A player on the team. But then once you're in the course, you can repeat it as many times as you want. You can send other team members through the course. And we love when you do that, because then you can really start to put the flesh and muscle on your skeletal hiring system and make it a stronger and stronger system. And when you're in the course with us, we have twice a month Q&As, and we invite you to bring in any question you have about hiring onboarding, firing team members, how to do a performance review, any leadership or team development questions you have, all of that is fodder for discussion because all of it ties into making you an employer of choice for the A players that you want to have on your team. And I want to share Don Zerbe's experience with you that he's had in the How to Hire the Best course, because Don found me years ago through a friend who recommended that he read one of the How to Hire the Best books. And he reached out to me. He joined the How to Hire the Best course. His business is Eco-Lawn, and he needed landscape technicians. And he'd not had good experiences in the past. And he was like every other business owner who comes into How to Hire the Best. He was skeptical, but he needed to try something. And his friend who recommended he'd go through the course had success in the course. So that gave Don some hope. So Don has been using the How to Hire the Best system for years now in his business. And he's the perfect example of someone who came in and created the skeletal system first, the bare bones of what he needed to get some A players. And then he's continued to hone it and refine it. So I encourage you to find Eco-Lawn on Facebook and follow them, because Don does an excellent job of using the How to Hire the Best strategies to position his business as that employer of choice for the A players he wants to attract. And one of the things that Don does consistently is when he has a team member who has been praised by a customer, Don calls it out in social media, and he encourages his customers to leave Google reviews. And what Don is really good at doing is pointing out when his team members are exhibiting the immutable laws of the company, and he puts them in social media and highlights that. So there's something really cool that happens when you do that. So number one, your A players get very excited to share this post because they're being featured, right? Your other customers are seeing this and they're thinking, wow, Eco-Lawn is a really cool place. I want to do business with Eco-Lawn. And so Don doesn't just use this as a way to recruit A players. He's also getting business. And just as a matter of fact, I'm going to read you a post that he had on Facebook. And it's a 5-star review for his team member, Jason. And the customer says, Jason is amazing. He goes above and beyond every time he's here. He answers all our questions and concerns. After a recent storm, Jason's partner even cleaned up debris on my patio and driveway, making sure everything was clear. So that's the review. And then Don says in the caption, doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's worth it. Our technicians consistently go the extra mile to ensure your lawn's beauty and integrity. Just ask Jeff D., who had a remarkable experience with our dedicated team. And then the call to action is, ready to join our community of satisfied customers? Get started with a complimentary consultation, blah, 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 blah. So he's positioning himself as an employer of choice to attract more A players, because other people will see that and say, I wish I would work for a company like that, where they acknowledge me. And I love going above and beyond, but at my current job, no one acknowledges me for that. In fact, sometimes I get slapped on the wrist for it. And so all of a sudden now working at Eco-Lawn looks like a really cool opportunity. And when John has an opening, he's going to have people in his network who want to work at Eco-Lawn because of how he's positioned himself. So if you want to learn how to do this and be that employer of choice, just like Don, head on over to tapthepotential.com/course, get signed up for the course, and let me and Caitlin, our other strategist in the How to Hire the Best, let us support you in becoming that employer of choice so that you have those A players on your team. So as we wrap up today, we covered, how do you know if you can afford to hire? How do you deal with hiring overwhelm, and how to move through the trauma around bad hiring experiences and just employees who've beat you up in the past. And remember, if you don't want to miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Profit by Design podcast on whatever platform you receive your podcasts. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in today. Join our team and your fellow entrepreneurs in our Tap the Potential Mighty Networks community at tapthepotential.com/group. Share your aha moments from today's episode. Ask us questions and join in on the fun. Finally, share today's episode with a friend if you know a friend who would enjoy it. Profit by Design is in the top 5% of podcasts globally because listeners like you share with friends. Thank you. This is real life business. Keep your chin up, keep moving forward. You got this.